If you have kidney disease and your doctor told you to quit coffee, they might be wrong. I've been a nephrologist now for over 15 years, and when I first started, I used to tell my patients exactly the same thing. And then I saw the data emerging from 14 major studies involving over 1 million people. And this data completely changed everything I thought I knew about coffee and kidneys. Coffee drinkers, turns out, have significantly lower rates of kidney disease. People who drank 3 to 4 cups daily, they experienced slower kidney function decline over time. And here's the kicker. Moderate coffee consumption is also linked to living longer. I'm Dr. Hashmi, and in this video, I'm going to show you the research that hopefully is going to convince you, just like it did for me, that everything you've thought about coffee and kidney disease might actually be upside down. Because the truth is, your morning coffee might actually be one of the best things you can do for your kidneys. And I have the data to prove it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Dr. Hashmi here, board-certified nephrologist and obesity medicine specialist. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into one of the most common questions I get. Is coffee safe with kidney disease? Well, the short answer. For most people with kidney disease, moderate coffee consumption isn't just safe, it's actually beneficial. But as always, details matter, and that's what we're covering today. We're going to explore the surprising protective effects of coffee on kidneys. How much is safe at different stages of kidney disease? What do you need to know about blood pressure and medications? Why black coffee beats those fancy flavored drinks? And special considerations for dialysis and transplant patients. So whether you're just diagnosed with kidney disease or you've been managing it for years, this information will make you have a better understanding and help to make confident decisions about that daily cup of yours. All right, let's start with what might be the biggest surprise. Coffee doesn't harm your kidneys. It may actually protect them. The research is quite clear on this. When scientists have looked at multiple studies, here's what they've found. Coffee consumption reduces your risk of developing kidney disease by 14 to 30%. Each extra cup per day lowers your risk for kidney disease by 16%. Remember, there's a limit. It's about 2 to 3 cups on average in some studies, 2 to 4 cups in others, but a good number is about 2 to 3 cups. Coffee drinkers actually have an 18% lower risk of end-stage kidney disease. Now, I got to be honest with you here. This is what we call relative risk reduction. So if your baseline risk was, say, 10%, coffee might reduce it down to 7 or 8%. And these are observational studies. What that means is there could be other factors at play. Maybe healthier people just happen to drink more coffee, or maybe sicker people avoid it. So keep that in mind as we talk about this data from observational studies. The challenge is most of the studies when it comes to nutrition are observational studies. But here's what makes the data really compelling. There are these studies called Mendelian randomization studies. Think of them as using genetic clues to figure out if something like coffee is actually causing an effect and not just hanging around with it. And these studies suggest this might be a real causal relationship. But if you're wondering, how the heck is this even possible? Didn't we always think caffeine was bad for the kidneys? Here's the thing though. Coffee isn't just caffeine. It's this incredible mixture of over 1,000 different compounds. You've got chlorogenic acids, which are these powerful antioxidants that fight inflammation. There are polyphenols that protect kidney cells from damage. Trigonelline, which might help with insulin sensitivity. And diterpenes, which have anti-inflammatory effects. Now look, these are a lot of fancy names, and I know many of the patients out there have been told to avoid coffee completely. But as science continues to evolve, and we start to get more and more solid evidence that moderate coffee consumption can actually be a part of kidney healthy lifestyle, it's important for you to learn this. And once again, the key word is moderate, and we're going to explore that in a second. So, how does coffee actually protect your kidneys? Because understanding the why helps you to make better decisions. A major study, one of the genetic ones I mentioned, found that drinking 1 extra cup of coffee per day was linked to higher GFR. That's the key measure of how well your kidneys filter waste. What they saw was Higher coffee consumption was linked to better kidney filtration, and this held true across all age groups. And it was especially beneficial for older adults and people suffering from obesity. Now, the interesting thing about this genetic approach is that it really strengthens the case that coffee might actually help protect kidney function and not just be associated with it. Now, here's where a lot of people get worried. Yes, caffeine can cause a temporary spike in blood pressure, but let me explain why this isn't as scary as it sounds. When you drink coffee, your blood pressure might go up 5 to 10 points within an hour. This can last as much as 3 hours, but this is important to understand. Your body adapts, so regular coffee drinkers don't get that sustained elevation. Long-term studies actually show no increased risk of high blood pressure with regular, moderate coffee drinking. And if you're already on blood pressure meds and drink coffee regularly, you've probably already developed this tolerance. The key is consistency. Don't suddenly drop or dramatically increase your coffee without talking to your doctor first. Another worry I hear all the time is, but Dr. Hashmi, doesn't coffee dehydrate me? Well, not really, especially if you're a regular coffee drinker. Remember, your body develops a tolerance to caffeine's diuretic effects. What's the net result? You're actually getting more fluid than you're losing. Now, for most kidney patients, moderate coffee consumption actually contributes to your daily fluid needs. So if you're on dialysis with strict fluid restrictions, you need to make sure that you're watching the total volume. But we're going to talk about that in a second. Let's get into the stages of kidney disease and coffee. Now, your kidney disease stage, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, absolutely matters when it comes to coffee. So let me break this down for you. Early stages, CKD1, CKD2, coffee isn't just safe here, it's actually protective. Studies show significant risk reduction for disease progression. No restrictions are needed for most people. 3 to 4 cups are totally fine and may actually be beneficial. As you know, on this channel, I've talked about 2 to 3 cups being sweet spot, but the studies actually show 3 to 4 cups. So somewhere between 2 to 4 cups. One thing to keep in mind is choose filtered coffee over unfiltered types like French press or Turkish coffee. The filtering process, what it does is it actually removes these compounds called caffeine and diterpenes, and these compounds can raise cholesterol. Filtering will remove them, and since kidney patients already have higher risk for heart disease, this may play a small role. So once again, not critical, but if given the option, choose filtered coffee. Now, if you're in early stages, don't let kidney disease stop you from enjoying a cup of coffee. The evidence, once again, is pretty clear that it might actually help slow it down. But let's go a little further. What if you're moderate to advanced stages, stages 3 to 5? It's still generally safe, but with some caveats. We need to pay close attention to a few things. First, when you look at the data, what's important to understand is even at stages 3 to 5, there's still benefit. There's an 18% lower risk of end-stage kidney disease or dialysis. But you need to pay attention to how much you can take and how you respond. So what do you need to watch? Medication interactions, we're going to get into that. Phosphorus in what you add to the coffee, and how your blood pressure responds to coffee with advanced kidney disease. So remember, you don't have to give up your cup of coffee just because you got stages 3 to 5, but be smarter about it. Many of my patients who have stages 4, stages 5, or even on dialysis still enjoy their morning cup of coffee just with the right guidance. Now, genetics. Remember, genetics always plays a role, not as much as people would like to think, but it does. So some people have gene variants that make them slow caffeine metabolizers. If you're one of those folks, you might need to limit yourself, especially to less than 3 cups per day. Also, you got to make sure you take it earlier in the day. Some people, if they have it after 10 a.m., it actually impacts the quality of their sleep. And we've talked about how critical sleep is. Now, on the other hand, there are fast metabolizers who they can drink just about any time and feel okay. But once again, still, we recommend trying to keep your coffee no later than 12 p.m. if possible. All right, Now for the phosphorus and potassium question. This is the big elephant in the room because this is where a lot of folks, they see something on the internet and they talk about it. So remember, when you look at black coffee, and black coffee is your friend here, an 8-ounce cup, you're looking at only 2.2% of your daily phosphorus requirement. That's only 116 milligrams of potassium. And you start to look at phosphorus only being 2.2%. Both of those are very, very low. And the other part of this is when you're talking about the phosphorus that's in coffee, it's absorbed a lot more poorly than phosphorus that's coming from animal-based sources or that's coming from processed foods. In fact, this is significantly less. So if you're on a low potassium diet, for example, 1 to 2 cups of black coffee per day is totally fine. And the phosphorus in it is very low as well. Now, here's where coffee gets a bad rap. It's not the coffee itself. It's the creamers and all those fancy flavored drinks at certain coffee shops that we all know about. And the reason this matters is because of the additive. There are all of these phosphorus additives in coffee that make it harder. So those creamers that we talk about are loaded with stuff like sodium phosphate, calcium phosphate. And then here's the kicker once again, natural phosphorus from coffee gets absorbed at only 60% of the amount. But what about these additives? Well, those are nearly 100% absorbed in your body. So that means those additives can really mess up your blood phosphorus levels, especially if you're somebody who's on dialysis and needs to watch out for these things. Remember, a flavored latte can have 5 to 10 times more phosphorus than black coffee. And for someone with kidney disease, this could be the difference between safe and being problematic and requiring more pills. And if you need something in your coffee, I always put unsweetened almond milk. I think it's fantastic. So just think about it, because plant-based milks without phosphorus additives can actually work great. A little real cream has natural phosphorus, and yes, that's there, but if you can't live without it, that's okay too. But unsweetened alternatives are always good. And if you want to think about natural flavoring, there's cinnamon, there's vanilla extract that could really make the taste okay. I like my coffee with a little bit of almond milk. That's how I enjoy it in the morning, but however you like it. Just remember to read those labels carefully. If you see anything ending in the word phosphate, that's your red flag. Keep in mind that you want to keep things simple. And, if you're struggling to find alternatives that taste good, working with a renal dietitian can really make a difference. And the reason is they can help you come up with all sorts of options, all sorts of ways to get around it. Now, medication interactions. There are so many patients out there who get anxious because, especially in kidney disease patients, they usually have so many medications, sometimes as much as a dozen medications. So it's actually not as complicated as you think. With blood pressure medications, here's the deal. Yes, caffeine causes temporary effects, but regular coffee drinkers will develop tolerance, and there's no significant impact on long-term blood pressure control with coffee intake that's moderate. So if you're already on blood pressure meds and drink coffee regularly, keep doing what you're doing. Sudden changes, stopping or dramatically increasing, those are what's going to mess with your pressure more than the coffee itself. Phosphate binders. This one is all about timing. Coffee can affect how and when these phosphate binders work because it changes your stomach's pH and can affect how fast things move through. So here's what works best. Take your phosphate binders with meals like you're supposed to. Drink your coffee between meals when possible. And if you must have coffee with food, try to wait 1 to 2 hours after taking your binders to take the coffee. This simple trick can make your phosphate binders work far more effective because it's not about avoiding the coffee, it's about being smart with the timing. Then there's diuretics. Now remember, there can be some additive effects with diuretics. There's risk of dehydration because coffee plus diuretics, and you got to keep an eye out on the electrolytes. But one interesting thing is that the same enzyme that processes caffeine also handles certain psychiatric meds, blood thinners, and other drugs. So if you're on multiple medications, you want to chat with your pharmacist or doctor about how much caffeine you're taking. And if you're on diuretics and you love your coffee, just pay attention to how you feel. Stay hydrated, watch your weight, and let your doctor know if you're getting dizzy or weak. Now, decaf versus regular. Should you switch to decaf? Well, you might be surprised by the answer again. Decaf does have some real advantages. You should know because when you look at decaf, you keep all those beneficial antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds I mentioned earlier. And there are no caffeine-related blood pressure spikes. There's no medication timing issues. And of course, if you're sensitive to caffeine, this is a great alternative. Now, quick note, this is important. People think decaf is completely free of caffeine, and that's not the case. So in other words, if you usually think about how much caffeine you're having. So in a cup, a normal cup of coffee might have 80 to 100 milligrams in regular coffee, and it has about 2 to 5 milligrams or so in decaf as far as the amount of caffeine goes. So it's not zero. But also remember, regular coffee still has its perks. So there are studies that have specifically looked at caffeinated coffee, and caffeine has metabolic benefits, and it has more of a role in terms of diabetes prevention. But whether you like caffeine or you don't like caffeine, so normal or decaf, I drink both are totally valid choices. And if you get jittery with caffeine, keeps you up at night, or spikes your blood pressure too much, switch to decaf. And remember, you're going to get just about all of the same benefits with decaf that you would with caffeine. If you have metabolic syndrome, you may want to think about using more caffeinated coffee just because of the fact that there may be some improvements in insulin sensitivity and improvement in metabolic function as far as that goes. But on the other side, once again, tough to control high blood pressure, sleep issues from caffeine, or heart rhythm problems, of course, switch to decaf. Remember, one thing you got to know, there's no shame in choosing decaf. You're going to still get those powerful kidney protected compounds. So the goal here is always the same. Find what works in your body and, of course, in your life. Now, let's talk about some special situations that need a little bit of extra attention. Dialysis patients. Remember, if you're on dialysis, fluid restrictions might limit how much caffeine you can have. Potassium can build up between sessions. Phosphorus control is very, very important. So my recommendations are count your coffee towards your fluid allowance. Stick with black coffee if you can, or add plant-based unsweetened milks, but avoid additives. And remember, about 1 to 2 cups per day works fine. Just keep an eye out on your labs. And if you're adding anything else to the coffee, always look for labels, especially with the word phosphate in them. And then most of my dialysis patients, they still enjoy their cup of coffee. But the big stuff there is we talk about things like fluid, we talk about potassium, we talk about phosphorus, just to make sure that they fully understand. Now, what about kidney transplant patients? Well, the good news here is coffee does not mess with your anti-rejection medications like tacrolimus or cyclosporin. So this is important to understand because this is our greatest fear, is having the kidney reject. So remember earlier I was talking about filtered coffee, and the concept there was that it might remove those cholesterol-raising compounds. Well, heart disease is a really big risk factor after transplant. So once again, filtered coffee actually makes sense. But on the flip side, keep in mind that the antioxidant, anti-inflammatory effects might actually help your new kidney. And moderate consumption, even after kidney transplant, works fine. What about pregnancy and chronic kidney disease with coffee? This is going to change everything. Remember, if that's the case, you got to talk to your kidney doctor. You got to talk to your high-risk pregnancy specialist to get your personalized guidance. Definitely don't try to exceed 1 to 2 cups per day. Try to stay under 200 milligrams of caffeine. Watch your blood pressure and focus on staying hydrated. All right, let's do some practical guidelines. Let's make this all actionable. So here's your practical guidelines by kidney disease stage. So if you got stage 1 and 2, 3 to 4 cups per day is safe. If you got stages 3 and 4, 2 to 3 cups per day, watch how you respond. If you're stage 5 and not yet on dialysis, 1 to 2 cups and monitor your specific situation. And same thing with dialysis, 1 to 2 cups and stay within your fluid limits. And transplant, 2 to 3 cups per day. And remember, in general, filtered is a better idea to lower cholesterol. Now, these are just guidelines. Your specific situation will always be yours and between you and your doctor. So always talk to your healthcare team. But in terms of your coffee checklist, try to do it black or plant-based milks that are unsweetened. Avoid phosphorus-containing creamers. Time your coffee between meals if you're on phosphate binders. Monitor how your blood pressure responds. Stay consistent with your coffee habits. Count coffee in your daily fluids. Read labels, especially on those flavor stuff, and try to choose filtered over unfiltered. Red flags to watch for: look, if you got significant blood pressure jumps, heart rhythm issues, sleep problems, worsening lab values on terms of electrolytes or phosphorus, or any new symptoms after increasing your coffee intake, those are all red flags. Bottom line, listen to your body. Coffee really should make your life better, not complicate your health management. And when you're in doubt, talk to your doctor. Finally, the bigger picture. Remember, coffee isn't just about the kidneys. It's part of your whole health picture. Beyond protecting your kidneys, coffee reduces the risk of type 2 diabetes, which is huge since diabetes is one of the biggest causes of kidney disease. Coffee has multiple heart benefits, and that matters because heart disease is the leading cause of death in people with chronic kidney disease. Then there are all the brain protective effects, even mental health benefit effects, because coffee has been shown to lower the risk of depression. Now, the latest and greatest research that's coming out, well, that shows that it actually has a positive impact on your gut microbiome. And if you haven't watched the video I just did on gut microbiome, check that out because your gut microbiome plays such an important role. And coffee with or without caffeine can help support it. And when you look at everything together, moderate coffee consumption supports multiple aspects of health that are crucial if you have kidney disease and if you don't. Coffee, once again, it fits great because if you're plant-based, like we advocate in this channel, it's great. It will go with all your healthy habits. It can help with exercise performance. It can even help in some cases to stick to your medications better by building routines. For example, every morning I have a cup of coffee and then I kind of sit down and relax. I do a little meditation. To me, those habits are very, very important. And don't forget there's social and psychological benefits, but just remember, if you have kidney disease, that doesn't mean you can't enjoy a nice cup of coffee. So let's just give some key takeaways to bring this whole thing together. 1, coffee is generally protective for health. 2, 3 to 4 cups are safe for most people with kidney disease. Black coffee is the best. Skip the additives, skip the creamers. Choose filtered over unfiltered. Timing matters with phosphate binders. Your individual responses may vary. Pay attention to your own self. And just remember, the benefits of coffee go way beyond just your kidneys. With this, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me for this video. If you found it helpful, please hit that like button. Please hit that share button. And if you got questions or if you've had experience with coffee and chronic kidney disease, let me know in the comments below. Remember, I always read all the comments, so I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And if this helped clear things up for you, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more evidence-based health content, and always remember, practice kindness to yourself and to others. And with that, I'll see you guys next time.